All right, y'all. So I couldn't just sit back and watch, man. I had to come pull up. I live a couple blocks from here, so I'm about to show y'all what's really going down right now. Columbus, I am so proud of y'all. Y'all are outside today, baby.
MAGA Republicans are upset today, and that's not anything new. They wake up upset and they go to bed upset. But they're upset today at the Supreme Court, and they're upset that the hand-picked people that they thought would always side with Republicans and Donald Trump turned against them. Now, for weeks, the extremists in MAGA have been calling for Amy Coney Barrett to resign from the Supreme Court so Trump could pick somebody even more extreme. But with today's early morning ruling by the Supreme Court that essentially just saw Alito and Thomas side with Donald Trump, they're upset that Kavanaugh and Gorsuch and Coney Barrett didn't side with Donald Trump. That essentially these three individuals, they say, if they wouldn't have committed a Supreme coup and protected brown people, that they would be able to get rid of everybody in the country they wanted. But what they don't understand is the Supreme Court actually follows the rules. And by giving their 1 a.m. smackdown to Donald Trump and his use of the Alien Enemies Act, they've set the bar and they've drawn the line in the sand as how far they're going to let Donald Trump and this administration go. And Republicans are acting like the tiny toddlers that they are, throwing a tantrum in their corner, trying to take their toys.
All right, here we are, another national day of protest. It's a great turnout on all four corners of this very historic small town in Florida. We are getting so much love and support. There's my sign. Let's turn it around, Pat, see the other side. There we go. Yeah. And we have got a great turnout, and it's only just begun. It's going to go another 2 hours here in Volusia County alone, where this is. We have so many different ones just in Volusia County alone. So huge amount of protest in a very, very, very red county in a red state that we are determined to turn blue. Here's my shirt. Here we go. We'll talk to y'all later and let you know how it goes. Be safe. Don't engage. And no point.
So this happened overnight. The U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is in Japan. He was sent by Trump. His task was clear: prepare for war with China. His first stop was in the Philippines, where he announced U.S. unwavering support. I would have to say, with all of our experience with Trump, that all of the support is continually waving every day, depending on when he gets his period. It goes up, it goes down. He's in, he's out. He's off, he's on. Both nations see China as a threat. 2 giant press conferences were held, and both lacked substance and energy, simply to say that they were going to be securing the region. That was it. Then Hegseth went to Japan. His tone changed completely. The U.S. is recommitting to Japan. The U.S. will send more troops, and it'll be the biggest news was a new warfighting command, which will be established now in Japan. Quote, America's warriors stand shoulder to shoulder with Japan's defense counterparts. Our forces operate and train together across all domains to uphold deterrence. America and Japanese stand firmly together in the face of aggressive and corrosive actions by Communist China. You just know it's a spin. It's just a spin. It just drives me crazy. And with that, I want to announce that the Department of Defense has started Phase 1 of upgrading U.S. Forces Japan. There will now be a joint force headquarters. He has directly named China as a threat from Tokyo. The U.S. currently has 55,000 troops. It is the longest overseas deployment for Washington. They're scattered across Japan, mostly in 8 major cities, but there are a total of just under 120 U.S. facilities in Japan right now. This unit is a subordinate of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. It oversees logistical and administrative tasks, and now this unit will set its own war room because the Department of Defense sees Japan as its first line of defense. They will now be able to launch an offensive mission. This is a major shift in the American doctrine. Until now, they were training Japanese forces, but they were never meant to attack. That is because after World War II, the treaty that they had to sign, after World War II and the U.S. was occupying Japan, part of what they worked out was that they would never allow, it's exactly what Ukraine is looking for. They would never allow Japan to have any weapons of any substance that would allow them to attack any other country. And with that, they would guarantee their security. So, and eventually the U.S. got $2 billion a year out of Japan to do that, which is what Ukraine is looking for. Ukraine was told that they could give up all of their nuclear weapons and that they would always have a security guarantee with the U.S. and UK and Russia. And now it's all just blown away. So whatever's on paper, whatever's signed, whatever press fucking conferences you hold, nothing is real. Nothing at all. And it changes at a moment's notice whenever the guy has sand in his vagina. This also means that they will reorganize U.S. Forces Japan into a war-fighting headquarters. They'll be increasing its staff and giving its commander the authority needed to accomplish new missions. New missions, meaning attacking China. We must be prepared. Earlier this month, Trump had different plans for Japan. He wanted to end the U.S.-Japanese security treaty that was signed in 1960. Of course he did. He's ending them all over the globe. It has been the cornerstone of America's Indo-Pacific strategy. Japan depends on the U.S. for security. It doesn't even have its own army. They only have what they call a self-defense force. They don't have. They've never really. They just look after themselves. They've not been able to attack any other country. They have had a treaty with the U.S. that is held for 75 years. Then Donald Trump happened, and he wanted to shred the treaty. He said the U.S. should not defend Japan because Japan does not offer any security to the U.S., which is true. That's what the treaty says. That the U.S. will act as a bodyguard for Japan at a cost of $2 billion a year. That $2 billion a year pays for every single troop that is in Japan. It pays for all of their housing. It pays for all of their food. It pays for all of their war assets. It pays for everything. It's actually overpaying when they've done the math. This new deal gives U.S. access to all of the prime real estate. There are U.S. facilities on all of Japan's strategic islands. Donald Trump is bullying Japan into letting him have even more, while Japan is clearly paying more than it actually cost. Trump threatens to pull out, so Japan has no choice but to give in. The U.S. plan against Japan isn't complete. The U.S. plan against China isn't complete without Japan. So that's their plan. Yesterday they put the tariffs went up to 245% on China. And overnight, Pete Hegseth is setting up war headquarters in Japan to be prepared to fight China. So there's the president saying, I only want peace. I just want peace. There's people dying everywhere. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. And there's absolutely no reason for them to attack China. No reason at all. And I look at every movie that I ever watched growing up and how the U.S. was always so proud of its military and how wonderful the military is and how strong the military is and they're the best war machine in the world and so on and so forth, which they were, and they have every right to be very proud. However, since you start to realize that all of these wars are not for the right reasons, there's not a lot of pride in any of that stuff.
Theater.
Are we
seriously just going to let this man and his monstrous people who openly laugh at the idea of sending innocent people away to death camps destroy our country? Just trash the stock market and insider trade and get rid of the Department of Education and privatize our public lands and stop science and poison water and change the entire world order? Because I'm sorry, no election gave someone the power to do that. We have to stop collectively acting like Trump can just do this, because he can't. Our country is not run by executive order. And I don't want to hear political speak. I don't want to hear that nothing can be done, or we're waiting for the right pitch, or, well, the president said, yeah, we are quadrupling our debt. We are ruining our economy. We are destroying our public health and higher education, and we are completely abandoning the rule of law. I need to see outrage. I want to see fight. I want to hear common sense solutions, because what's happening here is obscene. Sorry. No. There are 330 million people in this country, and most of us didn't ask for any of this. Even people that voted for this didn't vote for this. This leader needs to be removed. And just so you know, the process for removing a leader who's lost their damn mind and is breaking the laws in this country is called impeachment, and it's done by Congress. So all of those Republicans who are just terrified of being primaried or getting a nickname or being on the wrong side of Donald, you need to band together and vote to remove the tyrant who is threatening you. That is your best option at safety, because you're never going to pacify this blackmailer. You need to take him out. He cannot threaten you if he doesn't have power, and he only has power because of you. That is literally your job. You could stop your own shakedown. So maybe consider doing the right thing, not just for hundreds of millions of Americans who deserve better than this, but for yourself, to protect your own job, your sanity, your skin. And sooner rather than later would be preferable, because, TikTok, the entire republic is on the line.
Donald Trump's White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, had another absolutely embarrassing meltdown on live television. And it might be the most awkward press briefing yet. She was pressed, and for good reason, about the deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man wrongly deported to El Salvador. And Leavitt actually proactively tried to frame it as a great legal triumph. She declared, you can call him a Maryland father, but he will never be a Maryland father. Take a listen to this.
Nothing will change the fact that Abrego Garcia will never be a Maryland father. He will never live in the United States of America again. And the United States Supreme Court ruled unanimously that the President of the United States and the Secretary of State could not be compelled to forcibly retrieve this citizen of El Salvador, who is currently locked up in a maximum security prison in his home country due to his MS-13 membership.
Now, of course, it's only 26 seconds we listened to, but there's a lot of lies in there. When she says the Supreme Court ruled that we can't be forced to get him out by force. Supreme Court didn't really weigh in on that. The Supreme Court said the deportation was wrong, the lower court's authority to determine that was valid, and that the Trump administration must facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia to the United States. The other aspect to this is, if what she cares about is what the Supreme Court says, the Supreme Court has also previously ruled that it is against the law to imprison people without due process. And they are very selective and capricious about when the Supreme Court or any court decision actually matters to them based on whether they like it or not. So this was not a calm explanation about law and precedent. It was a performance that was cold and it was hostile and it dripped with contempt and lacked empathy and compassion. And it is merely political theater.
I literally just posted a video about how Trump's team is currently in France in a 300-year-old palace, gold leaf everywhere, just absolutely gorgeous. And his team is looking around this room, and instead of negotiating how keep people alive in Ukraine, they're like, oh, you can barely tell the difference between this place and Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago is the equivalent of, and no insult, but the Hobby Lobby, Michael's kind of faux gold. None of it's real. Anybody who's ever been inside of it has ever said it's not even remotely easy to ignore the fact that they're not real Ming bosses. Nothing in there costs more than $49.99. But his guys are over there negotiating like, oh, this palace in Mar-a-Lago, can't tell the difference. And the other day, influencer figured out that all like the gold cherubs and all the stuff that's being added to the fireplace, all the gold that's being put in, they found the cherub at Home Depot for like $36, and those filigree things he has over the fireplace, they also found at Home Depot. They're like $65, so obviously he spent big. What we did find out is that Trump originally said he flew them up from Mar-a-Lago, and they're real gold, which neither of those two is true. But the one thing he did fly up was a carpenter, handyman. They put them on Air Force One, and they flew them from Palm Beach to D.C. to install these heirlooms in the White House. Can you guess what that probably cost the taxpayers? I can just see the whole, the whole caravan of Secret Service taking Bob to Home Depot to buy some cherubs and gold spray paint, and then, they must have brought him to Camp David to spray paint them, so he just didn't see it happening on the back lawn of the White House. But now we find out that the official portrait of Trump, old Winky Eye, I'm watching you. I'm Papa the Sailor Man. These things are usually printed and they're distributed multiple places. Like they hang them up in libraries and school buildings, like the official presidential portrait. Well, the way all the other presidents have had their portraits painted for quite a long time is not good enough. Trump is insisting that his official portrait has a gold rim around it, to the point that the US government has to buy this special printer that can print gold around the edge of all the presidential portraits. So these things should have been sent out. They should be hanging on the walls of all these places by now. It's not, because taxpayers have to pay for a special fucking printer so there can be a 1-inch, the same size as his penis, a 1-inch border around his official portrait. I can't imagine what that's costing us. But I'm sure Doge will never look into it. Just know you're paying for that. Handyman from, Palm Beach being flown in to spray paint shit from Home Depot. And yes, you can actually find the footage of Trump walking around the White House with a Fox anchor telling her how this is real gold imported from Mar-a-Lago, right next to that real Declaration of Independence. I can't wait until the Republicans just clear the shelves at Home Depot so they can have the same interior design as the President of the United States. But yeah, the portraits can't go out until they have gold printing around them. You're paying for that. Jesus H. Christ. Nobody tell him about fool's gold. For the love of God, nobody tell him about that. But definitely tell him the tassels that tie up the curtains, tell him that's real gold rope.
Bro, it's going to be fascinating to watch the fallout from this. You don't get it. You don't get it. Because here's the thing. This is almost a perfect situation. It's almost perfect. Because the bad elements of our society that we've been trying to cleanse for so long have managed to stick around for very good reasons, right? It appealed to avarice, and so people can fall into it very easily. It appeals to ego, so people can fall into it very easily. It defies stated science, etc. It denies that legitimate stuff, so you can recreate your own reality. People who are invested in themselves really love that idea, right? Okay, yeah, choose your own adventure. They love that shit. But in this situation, that has managed to make it so that the worst possible, the stupidest possible, the least prepared possible people are running the show. And they have behind their actions a complete lack of empathy. And so they are playing a slightly different version of the game, right? And so we've got this effect where everything's coming to a head in the exact right way. Let me explain. Red states take more money from the federal budget than blue states do. It's a simple fact. I'm sorry, Karen. I can't help that it hurts your feelings. All right? It's simply a fact that in the name of ideology, you picked the worst possible managers. Ones who were selfish and greedy and didn't give a shit. And they put into effect policies that actually harmed you and mismanaged funds and siphoned wealth off into contracting groups and so forth. You mismanaged your resources by falling to your own ego. Right, okay. Which means that your states can't stand on their own 2 feet and function as they have been. If you would like them to keep functioning as they have been or better, you back the wrong pony. Because unfortunately, this pony is going to drag you to the pits of hell. Because with these policies in play, your states will function worse. You will have less funds, less capability, less resources. Right. So red states will have less balanced budgets, be less able to provide resources and maintain things. Right. So the red states' economies will be destabilized the most quickly. Okay. Meaning people in red states will lose their assets, resources, capabilities, everything faster than everyone else. Good job. In addition, it just so happens that MAGA has a group of people within it. They managed to use the ideology to convince poor folks to hate everyone, right? And in the name of that weird bias, they decided to shoot themselves in the foot because they didn't think about the fact that they were the ones relying on the system they're now destabilizing. Right. Medicaid, Medicare, a huge chunk of MAGA is dependent on that. More than half of MAGA uses Medicaid and Medicare. Right. So they're about to lose that because of the decision that they made. They will no longer have those benefits. Okay. Right. And if you're in a red state and you rely on Medicaid, not only are you not going to have those benefits, you're going to have a state that's destabilizing around you more quickly than the blue states, which are going to manage their resources and also probably do something that helps people recover from the fact that they don't have Medicaid anymore. But a red state won't do that because fuck y'all, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Social Security. Yet again, I say the same thing. Social Security, there's a huge chunk of MAGA that relies on Social Security, something they are actively disassembling at this very moment, including firing the staff so that it's non-functional. Payments are already being disrupted. States are already trying to sue. Okay. Which states are trying to sue? Not the red ones. People in red states, which are falling down around their ears, who are facing destabilization of their entire resource base, right? They're all looking down the barrel of a gun, no longer have health insurance. Those people now will no longer have an income. That's great. What are they going to do with themselves? See how red states don't care and aren't going to try and do anything while blue states do care and have exhibited in the past that they will try and do something for the most part. So blue states are probably, for the most part, going to be somewhat better off at this point in time than the red states will be. Okay, right. Red states are also the ones putting in the most restrictive laws, the ones restricting speech, freedom, education, etc. So those things are going to be clamped down on, meaning people in red states are going to be oppressed at a level greater than blue states. Okay, right? Even having their travel monitored. But now let's get to Donald Trump's tariffs and the way they've impacted things. Now, you may think the stock market doesn't apply to you. Let me explain to you how it does. Your retirement benefits are invested in an account that grows based on how it's managed. Yeah, 401k, right, all right. That management is done in the stock market, yes. So if the stock market tanks, your retirement benefits go away. And you can get gains over time, sure, but not if Donald Trump keeps doing what he's doing. And unfortunately, some of your investments may fall under. The companies may collapse because of the weight of this burden. Right. So, unfortunately, you will never in your lifetime come back from the type of damage that's been done. Just accept it. It's not going to happen. Unless there's a bailout. Not happening. That's only one way. You see, the business that you might be employed by might actually be impacted by these tariffs in a way that requires them to fire you. So if you weren't reliant upon Medicaid and Social Security yet, well, guess what? You lost the original benefits too. And even if that happens on a small scale, that would drastically affect a community, right? Especially one within a red state that's fallen down around their ears at the same time. And then, of course, there's the closing down of every other program. Like, for example, the National Park Service. How many red states have national parks in them? Rampant diseases, Diseases proliferating across communities. Where do they seem to be happening? Places where they're not vaccinated. Where are those locuses? Usually in red states, where they don't believe in such sciencey things. Do you see how they're fucking themselves first and foremost? And if we just let them behave and stand our ground and manage to hold the line long enough, they will take themselves out. Ideological plague. I'm fine to let them do it. It'll suck, because it'll hurt in the meantime. And I'm pretty sure we can handle it longer than they can. Pretty sure we can. Do you think we can handle it longer than they can? I think we'll outlive them. I think we will. I'm just saying, I think we'll do better in the long run. You know, we'll do better in the long run. I mean, assuming that they don't decide to form some kind of, armed service and carry their ideas to another place or try to take it over. I mean, that would mean we'd have to be good on defense and strategy. I think we're better than them at that. I think we are. Okay. I'm just saying this is going to be interesting to watch, because the thing is, they think it's going to hurt us, and we're just standing here like, how do you not see this? Honey, you're going to get hurt worse than me and faster. I'm still going to be standing by the time we're done. See, I tried to explain something to my daughter the other day, okay? We were walking home, and I was saying, there was an experiment done, and you can watch it. It's actually really funny. It's two guys, okay? There's a bin here, and there's a line of bottles going away from them. And one guy begins by you can only pick up one bottle at a time. So he picks up the nearest bottles first, and he starts putting those in the bin, and he moves backward, right? The other guy starts out the opposite way and goes to the farthest bottle first, and then the nearest, and then moves his way this way. Which person wins? Think about it for a minute. Think about the dynamics of the situation you're working with. Do they tie? Or does one win? Well, there's an answer. The one who wins is the one who goes to the farthest ones first. Why? Because he's tiring himself out at the beginning and leaving the easy work for the end when he's tired. Whereas the other guy did a lot of work in here that tired him out, and by the time he gets to here, he's tired and he has farther to go. He can't move as fast. We're in this situation where we've been playing things kind of the smart way throughout, and so the tiring point has come and our work's slightly easier, right? Whereas they did all this bullshit, and now they're in the long haul and they don't have what they need to survive. So which one of us is going to drop first? Right. So who's going to be left standing? Right.